Hi, Charles here. Well, I was going to make this one long video about the final wiring of the lights and cameras, but it's going to be too long. So welcome to part one. Thanks for watching. Well, in the first part of this video, I'm just going to mainly show you photos of Jason and Byron as they worked on the back, putting two lights and a camera and starting to run the wires up to the front. And then we had to stop because I needed to have a box with rocker switches, and I didn't have that. And so we kind of called it a day. On that day, I just took pictures, and then once we hit the roadblock, because I hadn't bought something, I didn't even worry about videotaping. So I'm going to get up on the roof, talk about what they did, which is basically up here, and then... So when I got over to Baltus Electronics, the first order of business was to work back here. So Jason and Byron got their tall ladder out, and I got out my two Nilight 6-inch LED lights. And as I've mentioned more than once, those are only for at a campground or an emergency situation, something like that. And I told them I did not need those to be run up to the front with rocker switch. Most of the time we'd be pulling up and we're deciding, most of the time we don't pull in at night anyway, but if we did, I would just, either I or Susie would just reach back and plug in, and I'll show you how I had them wire it, plug it in to a cigarette lighter or into one of our Ecoflow with a cigarette lighter plug, and turn them on. And that's how we decided to do it. So what they needed to do was just get them mounted, and so that's what they did. And they used the screws that came with it, but then they suggested, and I agreed, that just going into the wood wasn't enough. So when I got back home, I drilled through, and I ran bolts through the wood and through the 80-20 aluminum crossbar. So I did that with both of them, and you can see the power line coming comes with the light, and then they connected it to what they call strobe wire. I'll show you this. This is what they use to wire everything. Real heavy duty. It's got a great covering on it that you're not going to tear or cut. And then the camera, same thing, installed here. I ran longer bolts through it, and so this is a full-time rear view camera. So he ran it through, he popped this third tail light off, and he ran the wires from both lights down, so they're individually powered, and then this has got its own power line, and they're all running through this split loom, all cable tied, and then really heavily silicone, so this is all sealed so it goes inside. Let me step down, I'll show you what's next. Okay, so now we're in the back, and here are those three wires. These two wires here, they are coming from those LED lights, and so as I said, I didn't care about having them switched. So here are the two wires, and Byron just took them on the second day that I was there. He took those, let me get this cord out of the way, got a bunch of wires in here. I had him just connect them and have them come to this plug that will plug into either one of the Transit's 12-volt plugs, or just to one of the Ecoflow units. And so right now it's kind of long, and I'll just kind of wind it up there. And if we know we're coming in, say at night, and again we rarely do that, we might before we get to the location, I would take an extension cord maybe, and run it up to the front, and if we felt like we needed to flip them on, we could do it really easily that way. Okay, so what about the power for that camera? I don't know if it'll show here, but here is the wires coming in, that third light coming out here, and then here is the wire being fed all the way, and then it comes down here. And so what we've got, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but these are wires also coming from up above when on the second day when they ran the power for the big LED light bar and the two side cameras. And so they all come in here, and he fed them underneath, and it worked out great. So this is what I should have had that day, because we found out that when we popped the hood and looked under, you have to understand that a Ford Transit, the battery is right here. And so what they've got in the front is where the power runs through. And let me pop that up and show you that real quickly. But this is what I needed. I needed to have these switches like this because the lines coming that are the power lines, they're on all the time. And so you need to have a switch to turn them off. And even though these little LED lights do stay on, not using a lot of juice. So I think I have a photo I'll pop here. I think this is when Byron was showing me that when you pop this open, and here's where you would jump start the Transit if you need to. And I actually did that when I first got it because I ended up having to replace the battery. But he popped this open and he's checking circuits, I guess you'd call it. Again, I don't know this stuff. And he found out that everything was hot. And some vehicles are like that, some are not. And so he said that's when we realized that we needed to have switches, because here's the power line and here is the fuse right there, a 30 amp fuse. It's running in, and here's the wires going in, and that's feeding to the rocker switches. And so at that point we were done, because I had some harnesses that I bought that went with everything, but it was a bunch of individual switches and it was going to be a pain to deal with. And so we decided, and it wasn't as good as wire as Jason and Byron use on a daily basis. And so we stopped and we looked on Amazon which one to buy. And again, I'm glad I got the 6 rocker switch, because I've got one for the front camera, one for the rear camera, one for the top LED, another switch that turns both of the side cameras on at the same time, and I think we're also gonna wire it so that the monitor will turn on with the switch on and off. So I think I'm going to end up using all 6 of them. So it's going to work out well. So that kind of covers the first day. This will be the end of part 1, and then I'll make the other day, when we finish the wiring, part 2. I think I'll work out a lot better. Thanks for watching.